So there's a few folks that weren't able to join us. Some of you probably remember Sam Kelly. He has taught our globalization course and is still teaching as an adjunct, but he's teaching from Texas because he's starting a PhD program down there. So he unfortunately had orientation this morning, so he won't be able to join us. And I thought there was one more. Trisha, yes. Trisha is teaching the city of Boise this morning. So she's not joining us as well, but hopefully they'll be able to see the recording later. Did folks have a good summer?
Yeah.
Ready for the smoke to be done, right? Yeah. I hate to smoke. I know, me too. Not fun. So maybe we can just start out and go around the room. I think some of us are new, some of us maybe don't remember faces and names, so let's go around and just introduce ourselves. Hopefully everybody knows me, Vicki Budd.
Stephen Hill, teaching project management.
I'm Michal. I'm teaching also globalization, so Sam.
I'm Mackenzie Phillips. I teach nonverbal communication.
I'm Kelly Anderson with eCampus. We've been doing the instructional design work on the changes.
I'm Creative Provant Rocha, and I was just a substitute for Greg over the summer for MDS 300, and I work with Kelly with instructional design at eCampus on the courses.
Annie Cardinal. I taught MDS 300 over the summer, and I'm also the pre-MDS advisor.
Greg Wilson, and I teach MDS 300 and 400.
Erin Anchustegi, and I teach ethics for 30.
Alexa Ginian. I teach the hybrid section of MDS 300, and I'm the academic advisor.
Soon to add more.
More jewels in your crown, yay!
I'm Amy Davis. I teach case studies and leadership.
I'm Caitlin Taylor, and I'm the administrative assistant for MDS.
I'm Rebecca Morgan, and I'm the intake coordinator for MDS. So I get all of your lovely little students into the program. Alexis gets them out.
She yelled at me because I'm so good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes her job tougher because she's got to place all the ones that graduate and must add more. So
It's terrible.
It's
a terrible problem to have.
Just to put in a plug for Kelly and Karina, I think a lot of you have either interacted with them via email as we're working on master course development, but they have been awesome with helping out and jumping in. And if you have questions about stuff, they're smarter than the average bear and many times smarter than me. So if you have questions about things that you're struggling with these courses, feel free to pop them an email or give them a call, and they can hopefully help you or at least get you to the right person if you have questions. So we appreciate your efforts this summer to help make that happen, because it's been an ongoing and busy summer as a result. Michal and Sam are the guinea pigs for the master courses, in the sense that they're the only master course that has 2 different instructors. So even though there's several of you that are working on a new master course shells, those 2 are the ones that can hopefully kind of figure out how to do this when you have 2 different instructors and the challenges that might arise as it relates to students. So we'll hear more about that later on in the end of the meeting today. Eric from eCampus as well is going to come over and talk a little bit about some of the pieces about the master courses, and Kelly and Karina will chime in as well. Would you mind going into my right-hand drawer and get me a cough drop? Yeah. Thank you. The smoke, when I start talking, I it's driving me crazy. Cough drop usually helps, so I'll try that. Caitlin, you're going to start us off with just some numbers about MDS, where we're at and things. And
Yes. So right now we have 344 total MDS students in the program. Of the 344, 78 are starting this fall, so brand new fall starts, and 18 are starting in the spring. Of the 78 fall starts, 20 of them are totally online, so our new MDSO major, and 58 will be taking some classes online, some on campus.
can I just interrupt a minute? So I'm not sure if you'll see that, but you will notice, you may run into this with course rosters or whatever, but we now technically have 2 majors. So they're either defined as MDSO when they enroll in the program, or just the traditional MDS, which is the hybrid option that they could take classes on campus or some online if they wanted to. So you may see that distinction, and just know they're both MDS students, different majors.
So if they're fully online, is that just
within this degree, or what about the outside courses, the electives and stuff, all has to be fully online?
So if they're MDSO, they're taking classes specifically out of our MDS courses that we teach here.
All for online.
And then also they have the option of doing a different switch to career certificate.
So all online.
Yeah,
They
so the
wouldn't take a
major
psychology
requirement,
class over
but
there.
that can be something
Okay.
for a different requirement, yeah. As it relates to their IEP.
So we're expected to have 53 graduates this fall, so that's the number that Rebecca has to replace for the spring.
Possibly 75.
You know, maybe more.
I'm gonna work with Greg, make sure a couple people fail.
I'm trying to get people to
And this is just a historic view starting on this current cohort. That's this most recent year, 2015, 2016, all the way down to 2008, 2009. Giving you an idea of the number of accepts each year. That'll be the blue number compared to graduates, which is the orange number. And the gray is the number of students who are currently still working towards their degree. So MDS overall has a 78% retention rate, 22% attrition rate, and 87% completion rate, which is just fantastic.
And that's all I have.
All right, any questions on any of the number kinds of stuff? These folks are working really hard and making it happen, so it's great to see that. We knock the socks off of many statistics at Boise State in general, so we're getting some attention for that, so that's great. Now, Rebecca, you want to tell us a little bit about kind of where things are at with prior learning?
Sure. So my role in our department has changed a lot since January. So my week is basically split into thirds every week. So I give about 10 hours a week to the MDS intake and outreach effort. I give 10 hours a week to the VAS intake and outreach effort. And then I give 20 hours approximately each week to prior learning. So, and that coordination is for the whole university. However, we're starting with the departments that we know the most about, which is MDS and VAS. And this summer we did a pilot program with CALE, which is the Center for Adult and Experiential Learning, and a group called Cabrera Research. And it was a structured interview protocol pilot, which really is a faculty interview with a student who felt that they might be able to pass MDS 410 with Amy. Greg did faculty for ethics, and then Tricia did for teamwork and innovation. And what happens is that the student takes an hour and a half, 2 hour, kind of like a workshop through a video that they can move some things around, and that needs a little work. That was a little bit of a struggle for our students and for Vicki and I when we did it originally, and for the instructors as well. But then what happens is the student gathers all of their evidence and their artifacts, and they get the questions, they get the syllabus, they get everything as if they were taking the class to make sure that they felt like they were subject matter experts in that particular area. And then we set up a 2 hour interview with them, and they either came in here or we did it over the phone, and Kale recorded it for us. And the great part is that the course objectives that we have for each of those courses, Cabrera Research put it through an algorithm and spit out some questions to us that said the student should be able to answer these questions which would satisfy these course objectives. And we had a couple that came back that our faculty was like, what? That's not what my course is about. Well, that means that something's wrong with the course objectives then. So we were able to kind of tweak those a little bit. Amy and Greg and Tricia then, excuse me, sat down with the student and interviewed them. We offered it to 12 MDS and VAS students. 5 of the students came back before we started the program and said, after they saw the course objectives and the questions, and said, you know what, this is out of my wheelhouse. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I'd rather take the class. Great, so we had 5 just automatically opt out, but 7 decided to take advantage of it And we're happy to report that all 7 were able to get credit for MDS 410, 430, and 450 respectively. So we're just now finishing that up. I think it was wildly successful. The students really enjoyed it. They were really, really nervous, as we were too, because we didn't know what to expect. But I think that Amy and Greg, did you guys feel like it was a good process overall?
Overall, yes. Hammer in there. And part of the algorithm was impacted by the eCampus template. Because we're so heavy on telling them how to get to things, especially Greg and I, because ours are the first courses a lot of these folks have come back into. And so when I saw what they come up with, it wasn't that much of a surprise, but it was like, yeah, if you do an algorithm on our eCampus, the template, it's heavy on technology. It was just, so half my questions came back on technology issues, not on the course objectives. So my syllabus doesn't successfully reflect the course objectives.
Well, the other thing that we found I thought was interesting was that the some of the students, and Amy really commented on this, some of the students were subject matter experts in leadership, but it was about 10 years behind of where we are now, which would make sense. So one of our students from our commie, he was in the military and he's been an HR director for 20 years or whatever. He knew the leadership styles, but not in the current way that Amy teaches it now. Had we not had Amy, who's known about leadership for ever, she wouldn't have been able then to go and say, he knows what I'm talking about, he's just not using the current authors that we have now. But he's got the 4 styles or the 6 styles or whatever. So I thought that was quite telling with a lot of our non-traditional students as they come back. They might not be up and up on the new buzzwords and the trending and stuff like that we're trying to present to them, but certainly they know their stuff. So it was really great. What you're going to see hopefully in the fall and spring is we're going to have a new website for prior learning, which will be very student focused, which is great because right now if you go out and look for credit for prior learning on the Boise State website, it'll take you right to the registrar's office about what credit for prior learning looks like on your transcript, which is great, but it doesn't tell you how to do those things. So we're going to focus on how to help the student. And then of course we'd love to adopt the structured interview protocol here at Boise State. So we're going to work with the Center for Teaching and Learning and the Idea Shop about how to kind of build that from the bottom up, but have it be faculty idea driven, which I think is the only way really to get things off the ground is to include the people that are in this room. So I'm going to be ringing your doorbell and you're probably going to want to answer because I'll be like, I just won't stop. So it's just better just to let me in. It's just easier for you. So any questions?
Based on what Amy said and the research that you guys found, if you could make sure any of that data that would be useful as we continue designing through the fall on templates and things like that, please share that with us as far as eCampus so that we can make sure we incorporate getting those questions that they missed because of technology or getting your syllabus, because we have the template syllabus now, so let's make sure we have whatever we need.
I'll share the original.
Okay. Yeah, so anything that you guys want to include or add over the next
because you'll see it immediately.
Okay.
Great. Great. Thanks for coming. You bet. I'm stepping out. Sure. No more questions? All right. Let's go. We'll ring your doorbell if we need to. Good. Amy, don't leave before seeing. Oh, we're good. Okay.
No.
Thank you.
You do get paid.
Just a couple of things. One, we met yesterday and are shuffling people around a little bit in the office as far as who's going to be housed where. So if you didn't know where people used to be, they may not be there the next time you pop over. So just we're trying to think about how we can create the best synergy and be most effective in helping students. So we'll making some office moves as a result. So stay tuned on that to come. In addition to that, we want to have space available to any of you as adjuncts that may want to, if you have a student at some point that wants to have time to physically come in and see you, or if you want to have some designated hours, office hours, where you're able to just be here in case somebody shows up, or you work better when you can be somewhere else other than home, feel free to let us know, because we do have a cubicle that we're going to kind of allow that we'll sort of schedule out, and Caitlin's probably the best point of contact. If you have issues with that or want to schedule some time, just let her know and we can find a space for you. So we want to be able to be accommodating to that if you need some space. I'm gonna pull up the faculty site. Actually, I'm thinking maybe what we should do is, Mihal, I know you're not able to stay for the whole thing, and I wanted, not Mihal, Mackenzie. I wanted to showcase a couple things. Yanni's gonna do something a little later on a student showcase, but I know all of you do welcome videos or are encouraged to do that, and I think Mackenzie did a great job on hers, so I thought maybe just sometimes it's nice just to see an idea of what somebody else did to give you some ideas. So we will show that, and then if you want to chime in, Mackenzie, and say anything more, let us know. Maybe.
My name is Mackenzie Phillips, and I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself to you. I'm your instructor this semester for COM 341, Nonverbal Communication. I want to tell you a little bit more about me and some things that we're going to be learning this semester. I grew up right here in Boise, and when I went to undergrad, I chose the University of Arizona, where, shockingly, I studied communication. After I graduated, I still wasn't sure what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I made the most logical decision and became a bartender. While being a bartender was obviously the most responsible use of my new undergraduate degree, after about a year, I realized that I really missed going to school. So I started graduate school at San Diego State University. Are you noticing a pattern? Apparently, I like warm weather. While I was at FDSU, I studied interpersonal communication primarily, with an emphasis in nonverbal. Here I had the chance to do exactly what I wanted to study, and it became really interesting to me. For my thesis, I chose an interesting avenue of interpersonal communication, where I looked at the effects of technology on our dating lives. So essentially, I got published because I was talking about texting and creeping on Facebook. Yay! Contrary to popular belief, I'm not a teacher 24/7. In my free time, I like to go camping and hike with my friends. I'm also an active participant in a wine club, and I love to cook. But most importantly is my dog, Lola. She's a 10-year-old Boston Terrier, blind in one eye, losing most of her teeth, and she hates everything. And I am utterly obsessed with her. If you play your cards right, you might even see her make an appearance in a module overview video from time to time. In class this semester, I'm really excited about the content. I'm hoping that you will learn a ton of new information, and especially things that you can apply to your daily lives, not just inside the classroom. Since it's an online class, most of our conversations will be held in what are considered discussion boards. I want you to think of these as the same way you would interact with your peers in a face-to-face class. I also ask you to do a few activities in your activity reports that might take you a little bit out of your comfort zone. I promise that these have a point and a learning outcome, and they're not just for my personal entertainment. That's all for now. You now know the most important things about me. 1, that I'm your instructor, and 2, that I have a Boston Terrier.
Great job.
Thanks.
Did you just move your phone?
No, I'm gonna keep that one.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Thanks. My sister filmed it, so that was helpful because it wasn't just through my computer, which is where most of them are from. But it was Camtasia, so nothing fancy.
Can we borrow that clean corner of your house?
Yeah. I'm all looking great.
It looks so nice with the books and everything.
Yeah.
Mine has kids and dogs, right?
But I do think that's especially what students love about those videos is when you share that personal side of yourself so that they know you're actually a real person that has personal life and family and activities that you enjoy outside of the classroom environment. But you also gave a little bit of an overview of the course, which I think is good too, just to give them some heads up, or you might be introduced to some things you're uncomfortable with or whatever it is, but making them just feel a little bit quick introduction to the course, but also to a little bit about you. So thanks for letting me share that.
Yeah, thank you.
So I want to just take you a little bit to the, find it here. You recently got an email from me, hopefully, that introduced you to the new faculty site that is listed, should be listed as a Blackboard course for you. Have you been able to at least see it or get into it at all? Okay. So when I feel like there's an announcement that's pretty important, I will probably force the email announcement so you get that as well. But there will be occasionally things that I'll just post in the announcement page of the Blackboard course site that I won't necessarily send you an email. I'll try and be sensitive to the fact of not flooding you. Although the last few days I feel like I've been doing that. But just a quick walkthrough. This first section really talks about what it is, our staff, the website. Those are easy things. Quick links so that you have those available. Next section is where the announcement page is, so you can scroll through and see the history of it. Here's one from Jim Munger on student athletes. I didn't send you that email, I don't think, but it's there. So if you have some student athletes in your classes, you may want to just be aware of those issues and sensitivities. So these will just be a historical kind of list. So if you need to come back to some of the stuff that I did, you won't have to search your email and try to find it. It'll be listed here in the announcements. Here will be a historical record of our faculty meetings. So we'll make this, the recording will be clickable here if there's anything you want to review afterwards. And I've got agendas from the past too as well. Discussion board, I encourage you to use this just like we encourage you in your courses to have this be a spot that you can use each other as a resource. Anybody had a good idea on this, or how do you create this or whatever? I have subscribed to this and I would encourage you to do the same. This is one usually that you don't get a lot of email on, but if you subscribe, then if somebody does post something, you'll see what the question is. And feel free to chime in if you have an answer, because a lot of times you guys know more than I do when it relates to specific things with faculty. This faculty training section is really just more about there's adjunct pay and dates are listed here. Course evaluation is the link to the Bronco course evaluations. Program expectations, if you ever want to just get refreshed on what we call our step 7 is, so sort of the guiding principles of the MDS program as it relates to instructional philosophy, student expectations, what we want as kind of the common course, things that are consistent within each course, what your expectations are, what we expect of students, etc. That resource is there for you to look at and kind of just recall what that means. Some tutorials on Blackboard and those kinds of things, and then something on universal design. So as we're learning more about accessibility, those will be some good resources for you. And they've got a master course information section. So some, again, key documents, some of that step process that we developed when we went through developing that MDS program online. This is the latest and greatest. This has been our newest challenge on how to set up groups and smart views. So again, thanks to the eCampus team. They just yesterday created this, and I had Mackenzie actually test it out, and she said that the guide was very helpful. So if you need help with how to do that and want just kind of a tutorial, that's available on this site as well. And then some more information on groups.
So you might maybe mention, if you go, as I did, into just the BSU search for how to make groups in Blackboard, the step-by-step process that they give you apparently doesn't work. So Noreen had to walk me through it step-by-step, and as she was walking me through it, she was like, no, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. So don't use the BSU version of it. Use this one.
Good to know.
Yeah.
And this is for setting up groups within Blackboard?
Which in our new, when you get the new master course shell, you'll have to set up groups every semester, whether you're doing group work or not, because that's how the grading and sections will be kept separate.
And it's smart views,
Yeah, and Smart View helps you just see the grades by each group that's set up. So the groups are really your class rosters
Oh, okay.
for the different sections.
And that's in the new.
Yeah, once you'll know.
You're great.
And those of you that have transferred to the new master course site, just an FYI, the template creates, I think, 5 groups, and you may not need 5 groups. So just delete the ones that you don't need once you're in your teaching shell.
And you absolutely want to do that because yesterday I was in Alexis's and she's the only one teaching it. She only has, I know hers is a hybrid, so a little different, but she's still using the master. And she had 4 or 5 groups, and it will make your grade look a mess, especially if you're the only one grading it. So delete them, get them out. So I took care of that for you.
Thank you. So how do you know which students are populated in which group?
You have to put them in a group.
You have to compare it to
You have
people's
to, right. And if you want to keep them in the same section, you just go down your roster and you can click, 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 and add to group A and click, 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 add to group B.
And that's just what you want.
Exactly, yeah.
And those 2 are great resources if you need some help.
Yeah, it can help you do it.
We can get on a group hangout.
Okay.
See, like in Alexis's yesterday, I got rid of everything but group A and put all her students in group A.
She just got one
So
section.
she only has 1 section.
And I have, okay.
Yeah. So students who add after that, you just,
Manually,
how carefully, I mean, how will you know when a student adds?
Because when you go into your groups, it'll list all of the students and the ones that you've assigned to groups. It tells you what groups they're in. But I've had like 4 or 5 ads
Right.
since yesterday morning.
Exactly.
So they don't have a group next to them. So I then went back to PeopleSoft, compared, and
In your
So
grade
I'm
book.
thinking maybe waiting the closest till your course actually opens.
Yeah, because those that are using the 60 plus tuition can
Oh,
only
right.
register now, like
Yeah.
as of yesterday, so they'll probably still have some trickle.
Plus, you'll get that email, I can't get into my group.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which you don't want to wait till
No,
then.
you don't.
You can have it before, but you do have to add them manually as they add. When they drop out. You don't have to worry about the drops.
Right.
But
But it's helpful if you have 2 screens because you can go
Right.
your roster and your, like I was just reading names to Noreen on our Google Hangout and she was just doing it.
Uh-huh.
But otherwise it's like,
Yeah, that.
let's make sure.
Learning. Thanks for doing that first.
And Eric will be joining us. He's supposed to be here somewhat soon, but we've got him on the tail end of the agenda just to spend some more dedicated time to focus on any questions or issues and help you understand a little bit more of the process. So we can revisit some of those and more questions that you might have. Let's see. Oh, this next section, referral resources. This is what I would sort of call the kind of advising help referral. So information on academic alerts, when and how to use those, information on care reports, the health and counseling resources that are available, and then just a student communication flow. So kind of as we've talked about in the past, just really wanting to encourage you to stay in connection with the advisor, S and plural soon, so that we can be in touch. The best thing is for Alexis to be kind of your main point of contact, so you don't know who their advisor is necessarily, or sometimes even if they're a MDS student or a different student. So if you just use Alexis as your main point of contact, if you've got some issues or things that are feeling like they're going on, feel free to use that sort of as a first point. We can kind of redirect you. She's going to take some time on the agenda and talk a little bit more about some of the details of how that connection and relationship works. So I won't steal her thunder for now, but we'll chat about that a little bit more later. And then just some basic tools down here, Blackboard Help, Student Blackboard Help, etc. So please do let me know if you think of things that we should be adding to this site, or think something that's not working, or you have a different idea in mind. This is definitely a work in process, by no means done, but hopefully will be a resource for you to kind of have sort of everything in one spot and some easy ways to access things when you need them. Any questions or comments about it thus far?
I just have a different question.
Okay.
When will contracts be ready?
Has anybody gotten a contract yet? I just spoke again with Larry yesterday, and again, certainly apologies. Let me just tell you that the main reason for this is we're struggling. They're having challenges with figuring out which sections are assigned to which financial contract or financial departments in order to get the contract paid out of the right budget. So way more than is in things that you need to know, but unfortunately has caused a lot of communication frustration. I was told it was supposed to be, they were supposed to have issued them. Their goal was last Friday, so we have not seen them yet. So I'll check with, did anybody see if Larry popped in yet?
Yes.
Would you go just ask him if he has any contract update and see if we can find anything out? Thanks.
And are they still generated by Linda?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, Linda in eCampus is the one that generates them, but she needs to know which departments to put them from, and it's really because some of you that are having three different sections of students. This new online program has just heightened a lot of questions on all the other things that come as a result of making these kinds of changes. So you will get paid, I do assure you of that, but I am apologetic that you have not seen a contract because that's way later than it should be. So hang in there for a little bit longer and hopefully you'll see them. I would hope soon. Maybe they're even in the mail already, so we'll see. But Larry said, checks in the mail.
Might not be in the email.
Checks in the
We're
email.
not signing them electronically, we are.
Have you been able to in the past?
I don't think so.
Just no with extended studies, I think.
Yeah, I think whatever you've done in the past is probably the same. If you sign it and scan it, I think that would probably be okay. Yeah. And follow up with a hard copy if necessary, but this week, I did it this week. Okay, great. So hopefully this time they will be here by the end of the week. So I know he's working hard on it. It's just been a real challenge. So thanks for your patience with that. MDS program evaluation summary. In MDS 300, at the end of the semester, we have the students do it's more of a program evaluation. It's not a course evaluation, just to get their feedback on how is the inquiry process, the acceptance process, what's working, how often are you meeting with your advisor, those kinds of things. Then the other thing that we want to do is we want to assess where they feel like they're at with our 6 program learning outcomes when they come in 300, and then we do that same thing when they're leaving us in 400 to see if there's been a shift of hopefully greater knowledge in those areas. So we just got the summer feedback and we thought we would share that with you just to show you kind of where they rated themselves as it relates to the 6 program outcomes now, because that does impact many of your courses. But as you can see, they're kind of all hovering around 4. I would say the one that people seem to feel like they want to work on or feel like they're not as strong in is the one related to cultural differences. International relations. So obviously that impacts significantly the globalization course, but if there are other ways that you and your course can think about how you might have some sort of a assignment or thing that might relate to cultural differences or international kinds of things, that would be great. It would just help those students get a little more reinforcement in that program outcome that they seem to feel like they need a little bit more work on. So we'll continue to give you this information as it goes up, or as we get it each semester. But you can kind of see where things are at now as it relates to each of those. Any questions on that? The other thing that I would say about what came as a result of those evaluations is that hey, Eric.
Howdy, howdy.
Looks like you got a, oh no. Yeah,
It's all right, I got a day of sitting, so.
Well, if you want a chair, feel free. There's some up
Sounds
there you
great,
can grab. As it relates to, it was interesting and no surprise to me, but there was several comments about don't ever have any group work in online courses. Surprise, surprise. In fact, I had one student actually ask me the other day, she could get an accommodation for not having to ever do group work. Class.
Well,
She can figure that out, let me know.
Busy now.
And, you know, if you ever get that question, that sort of the way that I responded to it was, this is a university learning outcome, that you know how to work effectively with other people and teams, and there's very few jobs these days that you don't have to have some sort of interaction like that. But it was interesting, that was a comment that came out quite commonly in those sections of 300 this summer.
Probably compares with the face-to-face course.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm
You know,
sure.
I told one of my students who objected that I would put her with the straight A student. And that just shut that down.
I didn't put
I
what?
would put her with an A student.
Hmm.
And then she didn't complain after that, because she knew she wouldn't have to do all the work. With the student, you don't want to. So it was one solution.
Yeah, it works out for you, that's right. There were a few comments about just the quality of our online courses. So I think there are students out there that have taken online courses before and not necessarily had good experiences. So people are doing good from that perspective. Talked about the awesome advising that we have. So to Alexis's credit, there's some people that really appreciate and probably have had experiences in their past where it has not been awesome. And so that was good to see as well. So those were just some of the highlights or takeaways that I learned from that evaluation. Greg, you want to update us a little bit on program assessment?
Sure. I think all you guys know by now that we have this thing called e-portfolios for incoming students, and they fill those up as they go through their upper division courses. We have 6 program outcomes, which basically align with the university, the first 6 university learning outcomes. And so now that we've been collecting this data for like a couple of years, we're starting to look at the artifacts the students upload, and as kind of another way besides this program evaluation students do, where they kind of self-assess how strongly do you feel you've met these objectives. So we look at the artifacts that they upload and grade them ourselves and say, how do we think they're doing? So I have kind of 2 perspectives on that. So we looked at the first 2 program outcomes over the summer from artifacts collected over the last year, so fall 2015, spring 2016. And we're hopeful, what we want, our goal in looking at the outcomes is that every student meets the outcomes at a good or exceptional level. And so we have rubrics that grade all those things. If you haven't seen those, I'll be sending them out to you for the one that relates to your class. So we found that looking at program outcome 1, which is basically problem solving, the student average was close to the good level. The average was, I think, like 11.8, and 12 was considered a good score. 16 would be if everyone turned in a perfect assignment, which we don't expect. But in program outcome 2, which is the internationalization and diversity, you already saw students don't feel that comfortable with that outcome anyway. And that one was much lower. I think it was around 8. So we started asking ourselves, why was that so much lower? What can we do to help that get a little better? So some of the conclusions we came to was maybe the rubric we're using, which basically, as I said, is pattern on the university learning outcome, is not really conducive to the assignments we're asking them to submit. So there's kind of a disconnect between what students are producing and the rubric, what the rubric grades. So Nicole, I'm going to be sending, especially you and Sam, the rubric and for program outcome 2, since we've looked at that. And I would like you guys to just take a look at what we're trying to assess when we do that assessment. And is the big assignment that you guys have in your class, does it match up? If not, would you consider maybe making some changes in the language or the requirements of that assignment to make it a little closer? Of course, students can upload artifacts from any class they take. It doesn't have to be that class, and not every MDS student takes your class. But assuming that there's a lot to do, that would be one way to kind of make sure that we're doing our part in MDS. If we're going to assess students on the outcomes that classes we teach, actually teach them how to be successful in those areas. So I'm going to be doing that for all of our classes, as far as sending you an email with the rubric that we use in the program outcome, asking you to kind of look at that and match it up with the assignment that you maybe suggest to your students that this would be a good assignment for the e-portfolio, just to make sure that that aligns a little closer. We're going to continue doing this assessment every year. Every school year we'll look at two more program outcomes. So this school year will be 3 and 4, which is reading and writing. Another thing I'm going to implement in the template for the e-portfolio, it's actually already in there, is requiring students for program outcome 1, which is problem solving, and program outcome 4, which is communication, to upload artifacts from our capstone course so that we have the same artifact, at least for those 2, which we know we can control, and we can kind of gauge our own program success with our capstone course assignments. Just one last thing I wanted to mention is a couple of the outcomes, specifically writing and communication, ask for competence in writing to a variety of audiences, which one artifact, as we're looking at it, really doesn't cover a variety of audiences. So in some of those outcome in the e-portfolios, we're going to ask them to upload several artifacts. Communication talks about speaking and listening. So speaking, we have them do an oral presentation through their video cams in the capstone course. Listening is a much harder part, but I'm thinking Mackenzie's course may be a really good place where we could get some artifacts on how well are you actually listening. So I don't know, but
I think if you were creative with how you define listening.
exactly.
That's Mackenzie, she's good at creativity.
Yeah. So anyway, we're kind of working through some of those problems. We really can't change our rubrics. I mean, we're reluctant to do that since we know that this is what the university is expecting from students, and it's a good base standard. But some of the rubrics are a little unwieldy for program assessment, so those are the kind of things we're working through. So if you have any ideas as the program outcome that relates to your class is concerned, please email me about that, and we'll talk. So you'll be getting an email next week with the rubric that kind of aligns with your class and those kinds of questions. How can we make sure the assignments are matching up with that rubric? So, any questions on that, or yes?
Thanks to Greg for taking that on. He's kind of been an e-portfolio rubric expert. It's been nice to kind of have a key person to be focusing on that. A couple other things I'll just mention is when I remember and when I don't, so let's start with when I remember. Just, you know, we introduced e-portfolio in 300. We talk about it again in 400, but any mention that you can do in that interim between 300 and 400, even if it's just an announcement or an encouragement of this might be a good assignment for you to utilize with, you know, for this program outcome. Any way that you can kind of keep that on the minds of the students would be great, because other than the interaction that the advisor might have with the student kind of in between 300 and 400, there's not really a formal way. We've got a student resource site, you can use that sometimes through announcements, but if there's ways that you can kind of just keep it on the front burner as students are in your classes, that would help as well. The other thing that I think we're really excited about is to be able to have at least two of the outcomes that we're going to have specific assignments that everybody will be required to submit the same assignment, because one of our challenges is with not everybody taking the same courses, that we can't compare apples to apples as it relates to assessing those particular assignments they submit. So we're hoping that that might be a step to help us at least gauge more specifically as it relates to our program. The university outcomes, as Greg said, are very, we've basically taken those university learning outcomes and created those as part of our program outcomes. So certainly the expectation isn't that they learn everything in our program. Hopefully with some of their other university learning experiences, they will also get some of that knowledge. But in some cases, our students come in with very little left to complete. They pretty much do their requirements for their individual degree plan and they're out of here. So there aren't a lot of courses beyond the ones they submit for their IEP that they take. So some will have an advantage of taking some other courses at the university, and others are really kind of limited because they've got so much already completed. But thoughts or ideas on anything that you have, as Greg said, let them know, and we can see how we might be able to integrate that. Alexis, what's up with advising?
Well, a lot of things. So we're in the process of hiring 2 new advisors. Valerie Marsh actually left BAS and now is in Student Financial Services. So we're hiring 1 advisor to replace that Bachelor of Applied Science advisor. And Yanni's been gracious to step in and help advise the BAS students until the start of the semester. And then the other is to help us with our new online programs. So both multidisciplinary studies and Bachelor of Applied Science have implemented new fully online tracks. So that advisor will definitely work with those students, and we'll be making some shifts. I'd be happy to get them some of my advisees. Kind of cool. So we're in the process of doing that. In fact, the committee has a meeting tomorrow to pick people we'll be interviewing, so that's exciting. We have lots and lots of new students. Overall, we're at 85% enrollment. So because our students are non-traditional, they stop out for a variety of reasons. So 85% is pretty great considering. For our new students, over 90% are enrolled. So that's awesome. And as I mentioned, we're actually on track to graduate our largest class ever with 53 potential graduates. So I'm excited about that. I am kind of coordinating the efforts of advising between Bachelor of Applied Science and multidisciplinary studies. So because both programs utilize our courses, as Vicki mentioned, please come to me if you have student issues. So would also encourage you to, I'm happy to provide advice, but if there is definitely, a situation where a student is failing a course, I would encourage you to fill out academic alert. What happens with that is the Advising Academic Enhancement Office gets notified. They have kind of an at-risk program there. I also get notified. You also get a copy on email. That way the student knows that there's multiple resources. So we're kind of hitting them from a bunch of different sides, and they know that we're not just their sole provider of resources. So there's also the care report. So if you have students with behavioral issues where they're mentioning things where they might hurt themselves or others, please fill out a care report. And certainly let me know that that's a situation going on. I might have already filled out one, we don't know. But I would encourage you to fill out a care report. The university has an amazing team. It's a really diverse team that includes the dean of students, provost's office, security. So it's a really diverse group that kind of does an intervention and looks at that. So because they may say things to you, they would never say to me, and vice versa. So just helping the students out. If you are having issues with students, like they're not attending your class, please reach out to me as soon as possible. I might know something. So especially at this time of the year, we do have firefighters. And so you do have one that's really great about calling me and saying, hey, I'm on fire, so that I can reach out to you guys. And we've already been having conversations, and I just said, let me know next time you go out on fire, especially if it's just 1 second. And there may be other situations. So like I said, just reach out to me and I can, get in touch with other advisors or give you feedback immediately. So, questions for me about advising?
Do you have, with the population that MDS works with, are there, and then whoever's taught before might be able to add to this, like certain problems that tend to be more typical, so certain things to look out for that tend to affect this population as opposed to working with 18 and 20-year-olds?
Technology sometimes.
Yeah.
But I usually just send them to the help desk. The help desk is so great.
Mm-hmm.
They really are.
And Micron and HP are sending lots of people through our program, and they travel a lot. And their work schedules are weird. Like, it took me a while to figure out. I was talking to a guy whose work schedule was 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Right.
Why are you always sending these things in the middle of the night? I'm stressed about it.
Right.
And he's like, oh, no, it's my work
Which you
schedule.
sometimes get with 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So I was like, ooh. So it's weird little thing like that.
And we try from the advising point to encourage students to always communicate that ahead of time. You know you're gonna be gone for a work trip, please tell that instructor immediately what your schedule is so that they're aware, or if there's some other event that's happening that they planned 2 years ago. But usually when they say somebody died, they did. Yeah.
Right.
Usually the big
They're not like the
difference between the two.
19-year-olds who
No.
had their 5th grandma.
Right,
Okay.
yeah. Really, they're the ones settling this.
Yeah.
That's really taking their time, so.
Okay.
So you said we should, use the academic advising work. Is that in the core, in the map, in the?
It's in the
teacher
faculty portal.
Thing, yeah.
Yes.
And what's a reasonable time frame when you decide this student is failing? I need to put this academic order.
Well, you are all masters of how many points are left. So I would.
It's not something you do in the second week of class.
No, but certainly, we want to reach out to them before drop deadlines.
Yeah.
Because finances are also a huge issue with this population, so
So
sometimes
maybe-
we'll try to stick out a course when it's not in their best interest, just because they don't want to be with us.
Right. So if it's an early issue with students, it's best to talk to you, and then
Yeah.
later when the grade is pretty much going down the toilet, that's the academic advising work,
As well as Alexis.
as well as you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Excellent.
And I would just encourage you, while we want to say that all of our MDS students are awesome, sometimes we do run into hiccups and things like being real clear in your language on your syllabus about how you deal with late assignments, so that we have some accountability and can hold them to that quote-unquote contract, is really important. So be sure that you have some sort of language in that. And also, when how often you'll respond, what the kind of plan is for that, so that that's very clear in the syllabus, and we will have to oftentimes when we do have a student issue that gets escalated and we need to refer to that, so.
And I also want to mention, so the DRC, Disability Resource Center, is now the Educational Access Center, EAC. It is actually can put the entire university at risk if you provide an accommodation that is not documented for the student. So please make sure that you have something from the EAC stating that the student needs extra time or whatever the accommodation is, instead of working it out one-on-one with that student.
So when you get one of those, because I will get an email from the EAC that says X, Y, and Z needs double time on quizzes.
Right.
And they'll be in contact with you, and then I never hear from the student. How does that, like, do I just set it up as double time regardless, or is it kind of an accountability thing on their part as well, that they need to follow that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think legally you have to.
I would say the way I handle it is I figure they just don't want to upfront tell me.
Mhm.
And they've done what they needed to. I have the official university way of invoking it, and I just do it, and I never mention it to the student again.
Yeah.
I kind of watch and see if they're still struggling with whatever the accommodation is. And it does sometimes bleed over into some of their other work.
Right.
But I don't ever just say, oh, by the way, I got it and did it.
Yeah. For some of them, it's a pride issue that
Yeah.
they didn't want to go there in the first place. I think maybe it's something that they needed because they haven't been successful in the past. So.
And it's just as easy for me to just set it up.
Yeah.
down here.
Right. We would encourage them to talk to you, obviously, but for some of us, they're embarrassed for whatever reason.
Other questions for Alexis? Well, team will soon be growing, so again, use her as the first point of contact. But very happy that we will have some additional support to help her stay sane, so. We have letters sometimes.
In the Olympic view, I see Alexis with her back. This is going that way, that way.
We implemented a new assignment in the MDS 300 course, and I thought it would just be kind of fun to see. We did kind of a faculty focus. I thought it'd be fun to sort of hear a little bit about a student showcase. So Yanni's just going to tell you a little bit about that assignment and how it went.
So for our, Karina and I were kind of the guinea pigs on this assignment. Greg worked incredibly hard on the assignment. We're asking the students to essentially take the principles from one of our textbooks, Wise Beyond Your Field, use the guiding principles in the rules. So think out, look beyond your field, look, what was one of the other ones? The fear of complacency, things like that. And then take a problem, local or maybe a national problem, and find a way for you to solve it using the guidelines for the entrepreneurial challenge that the university hosts annually. There's 4 different fields in that challenge, and we asked them to pick one of those. So it's either social, cultural, technology, what's the other one? Agricultural, and health. Yeah. So our students, I gave them pretty much freedom as pick your own rule, pick your own principle, and pick the way that you would like to present your project as what would wow the judges if you were going to present this to the entrepreneurial challenge. So we had different types of presentations. We had a YouTube presentation, a PowerPoint, and just Word documents. And this is one of the best ones, and I figured that if it's not too long, we can check.
First communities make the unimagined real. America in the 21st century has become known for tyranny and fear over cultural, ethical, religious differences. In our group project, we chose to look at one way to overcome and empower the next generation, to not only make the changes, but to help make those changes at a very young age. Time and time again, America has been influenced by the mass dedication of young groups. In the 60s, college campuses were full of students protesting for peace. We believe that by using a bit of imagination and even reverse thinking, we can teach young students and those they come in contact with the importance of their responsibility to unity and peace in their homes, communities, country, and in the world. We will use this project as a means to educate young children of the importance of acceptance and unity, not only on a small scale, but for their generation and the ones past and present. We will take the matter of racial and cultural differences that come from the media, family, peers, and any other resources and apply a way of thinking that will empower young children to do something different. Students will be able to make the unimagined real through the educational lesson, which uses age-appropriate strategies in order to learn that all differences of mankind are to be respected for the unity of our nation and the positive health of our world. Instead of working with adults, we choose students in grades 3rd through 5th grade because, like the Trey McIntyre project, we wanted to approach a different group of people. We want to cultivate a different way to address these tough topics and believe by working with young children, we will have the greatest impact for positive change. By using the theme of frogs, students will create a pond in which all the frogs must live together in unity, despite their belief systems, race, cultural standards, religious ideas, and or any other concepts that cause differences. As a team, we understand the topic we are addressing can be very controversial. However, we believe having a problem-solving mindset in which these tough topics are addressed in a simpler yet impactful way will contribute to positive change. We believe young children are highly qualified to make powerful change. After students have been taught the lesson and have done their activity, they will present it during their back-to-school night. This will be a time that a majority of parents and guardians and family will be at their school. Students will each be able to present their activity independently and as a class. Outcome assessment of students' knowledge will take place by the parent or guardian and family involvement via discussion with students and a short form with questions to be answered by attendees. Students will then have a class discussion based on the finding from the back-to-school night. This discussion will include ways in which change can take place and how that change impacts individuals, the class, and society. Our team's plans of monetary sustainable growth is that the generation of students we are teaching will have a positive and healthy outlook
on not only their own countrymen, but an understanding of the significance of all people from around the world. Student outcome will also be that they are able to contribute their learning to others within their community, family, and peers, that they will be an example of what unity looks like with a high level of confidence. Our team consists of 4 people. Rhonda has worked in elementary schools for over 20 years. She is a mother of 3. Rhonda is the one that has been keeping us on schedule, setting up meetings, and making sure everything is ready when it's supposed to be. Sarah Lynn, a mother of 4, has an extensive background in business and research. She'll be working on the technology portion of our project, putting everything together and making sure it flows well. Her son will also be doing the artwork for projects. Jamie has a background in business and education. Part of her business background was editing and books. This fits her perfectly for editing the project. Our approach will be innovative by applying lessons learned from the jail and patrol gang lesson. We will use reverse thinking by looking to children with their creative and open minds to identify a solution to any prejudices. We will ask students to see what's missing by evaluating themselves and their family for what ideals they may be incorporating in their lives that may prevent unity between cultures and races. The goal is to develop minds that are self-reflective and truly look within themselves and identify any biased behavior. By seeking ideas from all levels of society, we will involve every generation from young children to parents and grandparents. By having children work with their families to identify how they as individuals and families can commit to making a change, and by working with the schools to implement their ideas. This approach will emphasize the importance to build a problem-solving mindset by incorporating an evaluation of themselves, family units, and society, and to identify a solution. We will measure our approach by using the scientific method used in sociology, which includes 4 steps: observation, description, control, and replication. We will monitor the progress of children selected throughout various socioeconomic demographics and track progress into adulthood. Thank you for listening to our presentation.
Couldn't help but think that's a perfect example of where you as an instructor could say, this would be a great artifact and program outcome too. So those are the kinds of things that you want a great thing that you're putting together. And it gets you motivated and inspired to hear that that's the kind of thinking that's going on in these classes. So thanks for sharing that, Mary. Before I jump into the online section, which is what we'll spend the rest of our meeting about, I just want to introduce Tom, who popped his head in the door. Tom is one of them that is a potential instructor that's sort of sitting in the wings on queue as we grow our program and anticipate we're going to be needing some additional resources. So he popped his head in just to get a little bit of exposure of what we're like. We're excited, very excited about our new online program. As you know, with any new thing, there's always challenges. So we're kind of bumping through the bumps and the hurdles and figuring that out as we go. And have had some things, Mackenzie. I've had some great support from eCampus to help us with that. As I mentioned before, Karina and Kelly have been just really great with helping out instructors as they need to in these final hours as we're working on these courses that many of you got at the last minute. So we appreciate your working with us on that to sort of help make it happen and figure it out as we go. And quite honestly, this fall semester will sort of be a test of the new process and models, and we'll learn as we're going on how we can improve it. So any input that you have, whether it's frustrations or things that you really like about what's going on, please let us know so we can continue to improve that. With that, I bring in Eric, and please come in and join us. You can take over Mackenzie's chair, or pull up to the front if you want. And I don't know, do you want to do anything with the computer?
I don't think so. If I need to, we'll pull something out.
Okay, so maybe give them a little background first, because I don't know that many of them have met you yet.
Sure. Eric Regger, production team manager at eCampus Center. My team's the construction crew for your courses. So we rely on the experts to help you design. You're the subject matter experts. These are your designers. We're the construction crew that builds the house that you want they design. So we're here to ensure also 100% copyright compliance, 100% accessibility if we can do that. Because like Alexis was saying about accommodation. On an online program, accommodation is okay, but it's not the preferred method. People do not have to disclose, and they could be remote in any other state. We've got to make sure that they can have access to everything that you're offering in your course. So part of the updates that we're looking at for fall is we just use the content that you used in the last semester. We're going back through and we're going to need some input from you because some things are going to be copyrighted. We see, and I just dealt with an issue this morning in another program where Bob Smith on YouTube posted an ABC Newsreel piece and the instructor wanted to use it. That's copyright, right? If the ABC News people found out that Bob Smith posted it, they're going to tell them to take it down, your course is now broken. So what we try and do is we help you find that resource. If we have to contact ABC News, if we can do anything to find that resource for you, we find it and we make sure that every video is captioned. We can't caption it, we provide a transcript, which is kind of that almost as good as caption level. So again, anything, and keep in mind, anything that's either optional in your courses will need to be made accessible. So that's going to take some work. We're here as your workhorses, but input from you guys as to, you know, if there is an issue, what to replace it with, and it might require some designer help to say, if you want a video here, we're replacing it with an article to read, you might need to work with instructions and changing the instructions of the course. So as far as that goes, we've got 4 courses that went live for fall that Karina and Kelly have really done a lot of work to try and get those done for us. And so we're going to continue with the other 5 in fall. So you get to know my name.
Just as an example, I wanted to add something really quick off of what you're saying. So when we make some decisions that are the design decisions, it's based off of the accessibility. So for example, yesterday, Mackenzie, and this is what I want you guys to know as you're going through, if you have a question, ask us. Because there could be a reason behind it that's accessibility or something like that we can answer. Mackenzie had, she was asking about, there's the activity direction, and it's just, there's not a link, and then underneath it is the link, which I didn't know this. So the reason that we do this is when it's a screen reader, reading through it, usually you can do the activity directions right up here, and you can create that link with the wording underneath it, and you click on the link above, and you go in there and it takes you there. Well, we do 2 separate buckets because the screen reader has to read it down. So the screen reader has to reverse and go back up to that link, and it makes it more complicated. And it was a really valid question, which I was thrilled to learn. So we can, so if there's something, a look and feel that you're like, well, this is, why is this in here like this? This is 2 things. I don't need 2 things, I only need 1. It has more to do with accessibility. Doesn't make that much of a difference to the student that doesn't need the accessibility. It's still easy to see and read, but it helps out in that theme of, I'm using a screen reader and I don't want to redesign my whole entire course. So things like that, go ask us. If you don't know why we're doing it this way, definitely ask us. If we don't know, we go ask them, and they give us answers. That really helps. We're just making sure that you get the one student that does need to use a screen reader, you're not going to have to redesign your whole entire course for that student, because you have to make it accessible to them. You have to give them the rights to everything else that somebody that doesn't need the screen reader.
Karen, maybe can you talk a little bit about the process with captioning videos and the support that your student workers can offer?
Sure. Yeah, because I noticed you have text with relay there. That's getting to be, there's no perfect solution to video. Relay is something that they're implementing now at Boise State and through LTS, which is a great way to use Camtasia to capture video and get it in your course really quickly. The problem is right now it's not fully implemented. So if we need to caption your video, imagine we put a link in your course, we need to actually download that video, caption it, and when we upload it again, it breaks that link. We have to actually go into your course and update the link. So we're still kind of trying to get TechSmith to fully implement what we need with LTS's help. Right now, our preferred method, any way you want to record is fine. If you need a video caption, download an MP4 for us. We'll probably end up using YouTube. And the reason why is we can get that YouTube link in your course right away. We can caption it even in a live course. We don't have to break that link. So there's the workflows right now. We're hopeful that we can get TechSmith Relay up to speed from, I guess, the production end. So let me know if you guys, I know you used Screencast-O-Matic before. There is a way to download MP4s there and get them to YouTube. So anyway, if you need any help, please feel free to email me, call me, whatever. And we have a group of students right now. In fact, we had one all summer that was only doing captions. So any video that comes through our area, we will caption for you, or we will have it done. We have funds that we can have it done.
Do you caption it before it's uploaded to YouTube?
See, there's the nice part, and no, we can caption it afterwards. Now, that being said, what we like is the MP4 to put it on the eCampus video channel. That way we have the passwords and access to jump in and do it later.
Okay, that was my question, because if you're like wanting to get that video up quickly, I was thinking we could just post it using like our MDS channel or something, and then you would caption it within a few days. But
if you want to use the MDS channel, there's another option is to, if you know, if you guys are okay with it, share that user ID and password with us. We can get into there and caption it right on your video. That's fantastic.
And then you've got ownership, which is nice.
yeah,
Exactly.
So, and then would that be okay as far as accessibility if it wasn't captioned like immediately? Like I post it.
Well,
it's
I don't know,
there,
I might
mean,
call
that's
somebody
kind
on you.
So far, we're pretty good at keeping ahead of releasing modules. So, you know, knock on wood.
Knock on wood, right?
The other thing, I might be wrong, but I think the TechSmith Relay, I know that one's free, but I think as instructors, you can also get Camtasia, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Instructors can,
Anybody
and I mean,
wants
that one has a little more bells and whistles than Relay, and it's just as easy to use. So I would really highly recommend, call the help desk. It's free. You can download it on your computer and close it or open it.
Open it.
Sorry.
With great nose.
Bam, there's the next time, right? But anyway, so, I mean, because that one's a little easier for us to work with if you've used Camtasia, the full-blown versus Relay is like the half-blown of Camtasia, right? And they're just as easy to use both.
So I'm starting from scratch. So I've done two, but I didn't want to commit a lot of time to them, so I don't have to redo them. So I've been using TechSmith, that's what we had in the e-box. And it gives the option of assigning it. You can assign it with captioning.
Right.
And they said, you know, you may not want to do that right away because it does take a little time. Right. Should I go ahead and start doing that? Would that be okay? Or
absolutely. If you caption right inside that Camtasia video and do it, when you upload it to Relay, captions are live. You're good to go. The downside is there's an option that says upload and caption later. There should be several asterisks after that to say, yeah, you're gonna have to download it, relink it in your course. We'll have to caption it for you in Camtasia Studio and re-upload it. So it's kind of it's not fully implemented the way we like it right now.
No, it's Camtasia. I'm sorry.
They're the same company.
Okay.
So the way to look at it, Camtasia is your recorder and editor.
Okay.
Relay is also a recorder. They all go to the same place, all the same company, all compatible.
Because that's why I have a little box of Relay. There's only about 6 buttons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been
So
using.
Mama Bear and Baby Bear, Camtasia Studio, Relay.
Okay, but
But they're the same company.
But I can use that provisioning with the captioning and go with that first.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
For those of you that are comfortable or familiar with Screencast-O-Matic, you can continue to use that. Just save it as an MP4.
Yep.
If you don't remember, because we've got a version that an upgraded version, I guess is what they call it. The login for that is
MDS@boisestate.edu. That's the username. The password is the number 4, the word complete, and then in capitals, BAMS.
Don't ask me.
Well, you can, I can tell you exactly.
Yeah.
Or complete Bachelor of Arts in Multidisciplinary Studies.
When students upload something, if you're sharing with the class, does that have to be captioned?
So that is more of an accommodation issue. We finally got some clarification on that. So if you want to continue to use that in your course, say it's a great example of something we want to include, what I would do is get student permission to download it, have them send you an email saying you have permission to use it, have them download an MP4. We'll get it as an example in your course for somebody to see and we'll caption it. If it's a single one-time assignment, it's more of an accommodation issue. So in other words, it's only good for that one course. I'm a student in your course, I'll never take it again. You're never gonna see my video again. If somebody contacts you and says, hey, you know, I can't see this video or I can't do your video assignment, then we contact the DRC DAC and say, we're gonna need some help here. Okay. So it's kind of a fine line in general when it comes to legal issues. If you're trying, you make a valid attempt on trying to make things accessible, you're not gonna get sued. And that's really what we're trying to avoid here from General Counsel's office, is to try and make sure somebody doesn't have to ask for accommodation, but that's one that they would probably have to ask.
Okay. Thanks.
And related to that, if you do need to ask permission because you want to share something, if you would, once you get that email from the student, send it to the MDS@boisestate.edu, and we will house those in a file that we have all those somewhere, so that if we need to reference it 2 or 3 years later, because it becomes an issue, we've got documentation that we got approval from the student to use that. So
I've got a form that I can send you.
Okay.
Or we can put it in that form.
yeah, that'd be great. If you
It's just
add
a
it to
form
the
that UF uses that says, yes, I agree, or no, I don't, and they check it, and they sign it, and scan it back.
Awesome. The other thing I wondered about, Eric, is I'm wondering if maybe we could work together and create a guide that would show them what this is. I think there's people that would probably be helpful if there was something sort of in a step-by-step. If you want to create a video, here's kind of how you do it.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll work on that so that hopefully you aren't as familiar and need some additional help, or you don't do it for a while and just want to be refreshed, and then we can put it on the faculty site.
And if you do need help, just starting last week, we actually have a multimedia developer full-time. So email me, we'll come on over, and right now we have a very loud recording studio. Hopefully it'll be much quieter soon. But we'll have a facility you guys could use to record me and help that people that be dedicated to help you get that video.
Yeah, we're in the process of building a media room, so it can be green, and you have whatever you want behind it.
Right.
Fish.
For the fish tank, yes.
Yeah, we do have an instructor that had fish floating behind them on the green screen. Students loved it.
Will the adjunct faculty office space, will they have a door?
No.
Okay.
We have 2 conference rooms here, and we can always schedule that for you. So you're welcome to come here.
It's funny because we're talking about, the personal touch, showing the dog and stuff, and then I see some of the comments, some of the evaluations saying, another dog was barking, it wasn't very professional. So I just put a disclaimer in front of mine saying, hey, this is from home. You'll hear SpongeBob in the background. I'll try and turn it down as much as I can. I have a family of dogs, and these things happen. So I don't think most students really care, but I did see a couple of these options.
There's always somebody. And we'll include Eric's email in the minutes from the meeting, so if you want to touch base with him on anything, his email will be in there. Other questions as it relates to master courses and kind of the bumps and hurdles you've been encountering? I want to say thanks to those that jumped in at the last minute, especially. It was never our intention, nor their intention, to get these to you so late. But as you know, sometimes these projects grow bigger than you anticipate, and that's sort of what happened with this one. So we appreciate the efforts that you have been willing to be patient and kind of do the final thing, and we're just going to do the best we can, knowing that it's not going to be perfect, and there may be some bumps and hurdles that we have to work through. I would really encourage you, Lisa mentioned, and maybe we should talk about that too, because not everybody was here at that meeting, but in the new master courses, and I should have pulled one up, and I think I do have Blackboard, so maybe I could do that quick. Do you want to just talk while I try to pull it up, Karina, about that? I'm wanting to reference that faculty form.
So we have the master, and we don't have any of you in the masters because we want to keep them clean and the master, and it's so easy to go back and forth and accidentally change the wrong one. So in your teaching shell, everything from the master has been copied over. As you notice and find flaws or wording or an assignment that's not working, or an assignment you even change had nothing to do with anything that was wrong with the master, there's a section right there, that faculty resource, when we're down, and there's a Google Doc in there.
Which one, this one?
Very bottom.
I think so, yeah, yeah. There you go. And what we want you to do is this Mackenzie's class. Oh, there we go.
This is 300.
This is 300. Alexis is
I've already been-
very proactive, which is awesome. This is exactly what we want you to do. It's a Google Doc, so we can access it and see it or get to it. Mark any changes. Module 7, this didn't work, or I changed this wording. It's exactly like what Alexis has been doing. And then what we'll do is, because you're making changes within your teaching shell, The master stays exactly the same, so those changes have not been recorded. Vicki wants to then have a meeting with the lead instructor and whoever else would be involved and go through it and go, yeah, these are all, and some might be really minor that don't have to have a discussion, but other things like this assignment really didn't work and I don't want to use it, or I didn't like this underneath this bucket, I want it up here, things like that. Vicki wants to have kind of, and we'll do that like at the end of the semester, hopefully between January. If you have a humongous change, let us know, because that might require more time. But otherwise, between January and December and January, we try to then make all those changes in the master, and then when we copy it into your spring course, it's recorded all of your changes. So we're asking you to only do it in one spot and just to record it within your teaching shell, and then we'll go clean up masters.
This will be especially helpful when, as Nihal and Sam as an example are working.
Yeah.
Sam can put in, Nihal can put in, it's all in one document. And it will be ultimately up to the master course instructor to make the final decision on what we implement and what we don't. But there's one place that they can operate. I'm also, at minimally the first semester that we're teaching in a new master course shell, going to be scheduling weekly meetings with the adjunct and the master course instructor to just touch base and say, how's it going, what issues are you having, talk about some of the potential changes. And, I think we all agree, we don't need to meet if we don't have anything to talk about, but to have something on your schedule that we can kind of do something on a regular basis hopefully will be helpful. So we'll do that as well.
And Stephen, I know you're using the older version to get familiar with, and we didn't get yours done in time. I would really highly recommend that you do something like this, because I know you're going to want to make changes to fit your teaching style and things like that. So your course could be a totally different course, different whatever you decide you want to do as you teach through it for the spring.
So as we get close to spring, when y'all have it ready, you'll say, hey, you can go in now and take a look at the spring one.
And we'll be working with you throughout the semester.
Okay.
We won't, yeah. This one, summer was a little bit of a different game, but we're going to be hopefully working with you, and anything that we'll be sending you this module to look like how you want it to look, and yes or no. And you can still make changes as you go through it after and decide how you want to use that.
So that brings up a good point. Should we have Karina and Kelly add this Google Doc to those courses that didn't have a master shell this semester? And then you
I think that would be a last thing. Yeah, because that's just a record for you of what you want to remember to help us implement.
Would it help, Stephen, if we just created this link in your core current shell, and then you can use that same document?
Yeah,
notes and
very fun.
Okay. Amy, do you want to do that too?
It's just easier than scribbling it on in your notebook.
Well, it makes sense since you're using last semester's information and we're already in this semester making changes. It makes sense to get
And if you think, oh, I'll do that at the end of the semester, you're going to get it twice.
Yeah.
And the other thing, as you're teaching through, especially the masters that are already going through, when we use the word master, in this case, things can be adjusted. We have one template that we follow. If you don't like something or a certain way because of the way your course runs, I know MDS 300 has a lot of different areas they have to go to all the time. Our objective is the same look and feel for the student and to keep them happy and familiar and easy to navigate. But if there's certain things within a master that I really need this out here, master just means a clean master shell. You can adjust things, we can work through the design of how you want things. So know that you're starting with the bare bones. Like if there's something where you're going, this just doesn't work and I want to move things around, we'll help you with that. That's not a problem. We're not saying that it's mandated to, it has to be this exact way. We just have to kind of get it this exact way now to get you guys started. But we'll work with 300 and adjusting. I want them to go this direction, not that direction. Okay. So it's still your course is what I'm trying to tell you. You have control over your courses. We're just helping with keeping them clean, easy for the student to follow, and basically the same look and feel to a degree. Yeah.
Cool. Just for an example, suppose I want to put in my own banner.
That's up to the production. Okay, but
Keep in mind that it's not up to me. It's not up to you. It's up to Vicky.
Okay.
This is the one thing you have to understand. It's a program.
Well, now you're going to cancel.
Preferably
Right.
If you have a suggestion for your particular course, we love it. If you've got a great image that you want to use, what we want to do is be sure that it's consistent throughout the courses. So, so that they recognize that.
Well, you're small group.
I don't know.
Or are you gonna wait?
I mean, I don't know. That, if you have questions like that, just ask me. And we'll figure it out as we go. What kinds of things.
And that's the biggest thing that I have to say is we're working on the courses, but they're MDS courses. We are contractors to the MDS department.
Right.
You know, the only thing we'll do is pull out the accessibility and copyright badge. But other than that, you know, it is truly, if the department wants to do something, we are there to make it happen.
And, you know, Eric's got a really good, we have one, the guy who created all the banners, like he said, we have 2 multimedia people, right? 1, 2.
One full-time.
One web,
several
one.
part-time.
And if you say, well, I really want this type of a look or feel, they can help design it for you so that it does fit the.
But you want to keep that consistent across all MDS courses, so I would think that would not be something that would be changeable.
Yeah,
That's my-
the
that was my
specific kind of front face of the course, we want to keep that sort of consistent. So I don't want students to spend the first 3 weeks trying to figure out how to navigate courses. And obviously, we don't have control of that outside of MDS, but if we can make that easy and they learn it once and they know that this is sort of what they're going to see on that left-hand side, we want to try and keep that consistent so it's easy. The reason we do this is all about the student and trying to be as helpful as we can to the students. That being said, we want to appreciate your creativity and your ability to make this course be something that's unique to you. So let's just have conversations about it as we go and we'll sort of figure it out.
So I have, because of the work that I did teaching study skills, I have a bunch of resources that I've used in the past for like time management, note taking, test taking, stuff like that. Are those things that I'm able to, like in the course documents folder, the course resources, could I add a folder in there that has to upload those resources and then the syllabus? So I'm not changing the way anything looks, it's just an additional.
In fact, I would recommend that you also probably send that to Alexis as a possible thing we would put on our student resource site, because if it's good for your students, it's probably good for many, and you can find a spot that it's centrally located and everyone can see it. So that would be great.
And then make sure that that's the kind of thing you make a note of in the recommendations. So we make sure we get that in the master. Okay. So you don't have to upload it every.
Okay.
Right, perfect.
Well, our time is up, and fortunately we got through, I think, everything, so there will be many questions, I'm sure, as we go through this semester, and just know that we're here to help support you in any way we can, because you're there to help the students, and we want to help you be successful. So let us know how we can do that, and for those of you that can join us for the President's Address at 10, and if you have some individual questions, we're around. If not, grab some coffee or some more goodies. We'd love to have you just hang out for a while. And those of you that need to run on to other things, thanks for taking time early morning to be here. We look forward to engaging with you more this semester.
Thanks, Vicki.
This bar is straight. This one's
I think it's maybe open.